Welcome everybody, my name is Ben, and this is my first video of showing you guys how to produce music and kind of just showing my process and everything and how I go about making a track, and we're going to get into some other videos too in the future. But so first off, let's start off, how do you actually create music digitally? And we do this through what are called DAWs, or digital audio workstations, and the digital audio workstation I'm using today is called FL Studio, and that's what you see I have open on my screen right here. Now there's other DAWs you can use, such as Pro Tools, Logic Pro, there's Ableton too, which I really like a lot. But to get started, you you might get overwhelmed. It looks like there's a lot going on here, but I'll break down kind of each area and what each part of the program does. So first off, you see on the left hand side, there's kind of a menu of different things that we see. And you can basically add in your sample files here. And what I mean by sample files are, when we create a track, we have drum sounds, right? Drum samples. And you can find drum samples online by typing in free drum kits and just kind of doing a Google search and just typing in free drum kits basically, and you can find drum samples to your genre. And the way you load those drum sounds into the program is by going to Options, File Settings, and then you would click this little folder icon right there. And depending upon where you downloaded your drum samples to, I have mine located in Documents, and then I have a folder, and you just click Open. And then it'll pop up with a folder with your drum samples, and you can see I downloaded a bunch just from collecting them over the years. Basically, I have a lot of drum samples, so that's where they end up here. Now, next we have the channel rack. Now, we call this also a sequencer because this is where you can lay out your music initially before you arrange it. So you can basically create your beat, or you create a loop per se in this sequencer, and then you can lay it out here. So this other view right here, so I'm going to break down. There's a bunch of little icons up here. The first one is called the playlist view, and notice when I click that, the other view goes away. So this is the playlist view. This is where you actually arrange your beat. So let's say you're recording an artist that needs a chorus, a verse, etc. You would arrange it in this area right here, and as you can see, you'll be able to lay out your patterns into different areas, but we'll get into that in the future. Second one is called the piano roll, hence the name. There's a piano on the side, and this is where you can adjust your samples. You can adjust the pitch of your sample, you can adjust the velocity, meaning how loud your notes are being played. But it's really intuitive, and it's great for coming up with melodies and chords because it just makes it super easy to draw in notes. Now you might be wondering how I'm drawing in these notes, and there's a couple of different tools up here. So we have the first one, which is the draw tool, and there's a little shortcut. If you check on this screen, when I highlight it, there's a little P right there, and if you click P, it's going to shortcut to that tool. So let's see, boom, shortcuts to that. And now you'll see you have the tool, and you can basically click anywhere and add in a note. And to delete it, you simply right click. So that makes it super easy. Next is the channel rack. So as I mentioned earlier, this is kind of the sequencer where we can come up with our loop. So let me give you an example. So the folder that we had earlier was our drum samples, so I'm just going to pull up just a simple kick drum, and you can drag it. I tend to recommend you drag it under a sample because you can actually accidentally replace another sample when you get a lot of layers. So you want to make sure when you drag a sample on, it's not outlining another sample, just so you're not overwriting one. So now you see we got our kick drum, and you simply click to add in a kick, and right click is to delete. Now notice as I'm clicking here on the sequencer, as you can see, there's little notes that are popping up in the piano roll. So these two correspond with each other, and if you listen to that, I can actually select these notes, and the way I'm going to select it is by holding Command on Mac or Control on Windows to select. And now we can drag these up, and now you can hear the pitch will be adjusted. So that's how you adjust pitch. As you can see, it's deeper. Now another thing is up here you see 140. That's beats per minute, and that's basically how fast your song is. So we can either slow it or speed it up. And something I like to do is turn on the metronome, which is a little click, which will really show you how fast your song is. You can speed it up or slow it down. And let's go ahead and show you if I add in some more sounds. So this is a clap, and we're gonna add another clap sound right there. So obviously nothing crazy, just kind of showing you how I go about, programming. So it seems pretty simple. You can just click it in and right click to delete. So that is the channel rack, where you just your loop, piano roll, and then your playlist. So in the playlist region, this is where your drum samples from the channel rack are. So this is our channel rack right here, and it is basically all organized in what is called a pattern. As you can see, this pattern, and you can have multiple patterns, and basically your pattern is what is in the channel rack. So this is how you would organize it. So you can have separate patterns where you kind of organize the song and such, and we'll get on to more of that later. But another quick tip right here: if you wanted to delete a sample, you simply right click and choose delete. And so one other thing I wanted to show is this mixer right here. So when I pull that up, you can see giant mixing board comes up, and this is where you will need to route our tracks. And what do I mean by route? So as you can see when we go back to our channel rack, we have our kick and our clap. So these need to be assigned to an individual channel strip. So how do we do this? You simply go over here and then you click up and you choose 1 and you choose 2. You want to make sure these are on different channels as well. So now when I click play, you can see they show up on this mixing board, and this is where you can adjust your volume, and you can pan it either left or right so it comes out of one speaker, not the other, and you can add in plugins. And so what are plugins? So if we play our kick drum, you can see over here on the right hand side it says slot 1. So if you click that, you'll see a list of plugins that come up, and for example, let's say you want to EQ it. What is EQ? EQ is basically the frequencies. So you have each of these little, what are called bands. So if you can see number 6, this is a band, and you can adjust it. And as you can see, as I go more towards the left, there's a number right here, hertz. That stands for, that's hertz. It doesn't stand for anything. It is hertz. That's what it stands for. But the lower is the bass. So if you turn this up, the bass on the kick drum will be boosted and it'll actually distort. So we don't want that. But on the high end, you can see it brings up a certain crispness and bite to the kick drum. But we'll get more into that later. That's more mixing lesson. So that is how you route to the mixer. Another thing I wanted to show is how do you add in actual sounds and instruments. So to add in a sound, you click this little plus and you'll see a list up here. And I'm going to use a stock plugin called FL Keys, which comes with FL Studio for free, and it's a piano. So this is where if you had a MIDI controller like I do, you can play something if you wanted to. Or you can do another thing, which is right clicking, go to piano roll, and now we have the piano roll. And this is where you could draw in your notes if you wanted to. So I'm going to draw in just a simple C minor chord. Now you don't need to know music theory to start off, but it will help you if you do know it. So that's a C minor chord. And if I wanted to drag in another chord, obviously very simple, but you get the idea. So, and what I would do is come up here, change that to number 3, and you will see on the mixing board comes up, and I can adjust the volume to turn it down. And to, kind of move around, you just click any one of these and it'll bounce you back and forth between these different menus if you ever get lost. And yeah, that's a good start to just the basic parameters in FL Studio. And in the next videos, we're going to be going into some more advanced tips and showing you how to actually create a beat and just what goes into making a song. So thank you guys for watching.